I'm meteorologist John Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and it is Friday. It's hard to believe. It's March 23rd, and this is the second to last Friday in the month of March. And before you know it, we'll be screaming right into April. If this is the first time you've tuned into our show, this show is about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And the name is adequately labeled Health Futures because it's really about the future of health care for these folks. And this happens to be the space that my family's business is in, Cypress HomeCare Solutions. Cypress HomeCare Solutions is a home care agency, in-home care service agency, where we enable older adults to be able to stay at home. Those that need just a little bit of assistance. And how do we do this? We provide extraordinary caregivers. And caregivers come into the home, and I liken them to being more like surrogate sons and daughters, helping and assisting the folks that we care for with what we refer to as activities of daily living. And activities of daily living can be getting dressed in the morning, can be preparing meals, helping them with showering or bathing, also making sure they take their medications in the right doses at the right time. And if you want to learn more about Cypress Home Care, just go up to our website at cypresshomecare.com. If you go to the far right, the media button, if you click on that and you drop down to the third button there, you'll find our radio shows. We've been on the air now for 5 years, and we've been doing this show. We've probably had about 200. And what makes our show special is our guests, and today is no different. Today I get to have truly my better half here on the show with me. My wife, Susie Roth. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is very unnerving because we are sitting across from each other right now, and there's not a plate of food, a tennis net, a dog, a kid. It's just you and me.
Just having a conversation for the rest of the world to hear.
Wow.
And for our listening audience, so everyone knows, I've been writing a column called Aging Today for the Jewish News for probably close to 8 or 9 years. And I've also been writing a column for Love and Life After 50 for the better part of 3 years now. And our column is very similar to this show, and that is bringing really good information to our reading audience versus our listening audience. And, we were working on a column for the month of April, and that column was centered around opioids and chronic pain. And Susie has experience in this area, not taking those drugs, but she's a former pharmaceutical rep. If you could tell us, our listening audience, a little bit about your background.
Well, I think it started when we met, and you were working for the Quaker Oats Company, and I wanted to get into consumer products. So I started with General Foods. And when I was selling for General Foods, I was selling coffee. And it was a high-yield coffee that you didn't price per pound, you priced per cup. And because it was high yield and the economics didn't make sense to the people I was selling it to, they kept asking me to price it out per pound, not per cup. And it was high yield, and it didn't make sense to them. And that's when they said, I think I need a little bit more sophisticated audience to sell to. I really don't want to dumb it down. So I started looking into pharmaceutical sales, and it was, do I want to say it was a lot of fun? It was hard work, and I did really well. And the thing that amazes me about the opioid crisis right now is how different the medical community views the use of opioid analgesics for pain, because I happen to sell a product that was wasn't for chronic pain, it was for end-stage cancer pain. And these products that I sold for end-stage cancer pain are now being sold for chronic pain. And it's a mind-blowing 180 to me.
It is mind-blowing. And just so you, our listening audience, knows this, so I've had the pleasure of having Dr. Carl Hammerschlag here on the studio with me, and I've had Dr. Ben Bobrow. Ben has got a great company right now called the Pain Project, really attempting to get people off of opioids. But just a really interesting, sad statistic is that every day more than 115 Americans die after overdosing on opioids. The misuse of and addiction to opioids, including prescription pain relievers, heroin, synthetic opioids such as fentanyl, is a serious national crisis that affects public health as well as social and economic welfare. And for me, fentanyl, wasn't that a product that you were utilizing for end-stage cancer, pain?
Well, fentanyl started off as it's considered an opioid analgesic, and it was used in anesthesia. It's a very old drug, off patent for many, many years now, and it's an opioid analgesic that was used as part of the cocktail in IV anesthesia. So it actually blunted the stress response and helped with heart rate and blood pressure. An opioid is something that relieves pain. And so even though when a patient was asleep, their body reacts to pain, their heart rate and blood pressure go up, and that's what it was used for. When I sold it in the form of a patch. It was called Duragesic, and it was a patch that patients would apply to their body, end-stage cancer patients, and the sell was to keep the peaks and to avoid peaks and valleys, to keep a more, almost like an IV drug, keeping it in the system so that if you had a period of pain, you wouldn't have to catch up to it. It would be easier to attenuate the pain and to relieve pain. And there was a lot of resistance. I mean, we were selling against a drug called morphine sulfate Contin, continuous release, MS Contin. And especially because the area I was selling it in was the area that did the clinical trials for MS Contin, Johns Hopkins. So, there were dinosaurs, and they liked to use what they were used to, and they didn't want to learn about anything new.
There's just so much confusion around opioids. And, you mentioned something about, staying, or at least that I pulled this from what you said, staying ahead of the pain. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's still the strategy for a lot of doctors, is to be taking these drugs so you can stay ahead of the pain.
I don't know either, because I really feel that as a pharmaceutical rep, looking back, now I think of those meetings, and they could have almost been like brainwashing seminars. I think about the people that sold a product called, it's the sustained release form of MS Contin. It's the oxycodone portion of it. Mm-hmm. And the amount of trickery that that they're selling with, smoke and mirrors, it's really, the OxyContin is almost like the start of this epidemic. And with everything that Purdue Pharma has done to promote this product, it's really mind-blowing.
Well, I know we'll talk a little bit about Purdue Pharma in the second segment here, but...
Did I answer your question? I don't think I did. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know if that is that... Do they say you have to get ahead of your pain? I think now, especially with chronic pain, we should know that it's a complex problem, and that there should be other modalities to address that pain, like we've been learning about, and breathing and yoga and other ways to keep yourself from just concentrating on being in pain.
Well, that was something that Dr. Carl Hammerslag really subscribed to, that whole mind, body, and spirit, and just being in touch with your body and understanding what's going on. And, one of the things that he talked about at the seminar that he led at the Jewish Community Center a couple weeks ago was really talking about breathing and how important it is to breathe. And Susie's taking a deep breath. You got through the first segment.
Okay.
You did really good. I mean, you've never done radio before, but you see, it's not that hard. Mrs. Roth, you're doing a wonderful job. We got a little bit of Coldplay going out. Thank you, James. I really appreciate it.
That's helping for sure.
That is definitely helping. And when we do come back, I want to talk a little bit about some statistics right here in Arizona and what our governor has done to really get that message out there to combat this horrible crisis that I know you'll talk a little bit more about. It's man-made.
It's unbelievably.
Which is crazy.
An epidemic, a man-made epidemic.
You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've got Susie Roth here in the studio. We're up for a break. We're down one segment. We'll be right back.
Gunderson's nationwide Best Stocks radio show is now on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM. Every morning from 9 to 10 a.m., professional money manager Bill Gunderson will talk about the economy, markets, and the best stocks now. Bill Gunderson is also the inventor of the Best Stocks Now app and the writer of the weekly Best Stocks Now newsletter. If you like to invest in the markets, this is the show for you. You will not want to miss one episode. Visit GundersonCapital.com for more info. That's GundersonCapital.com.
Are you tired of your power bill going up year after year? Did you know with the changes voted in by the Corporation Commission in August, your APS electric bill will increase year after year? That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy. Solar Sandy can save your hard-earned money on a bill you're already paying too much on. Just think, you can save thousands on your electric bill and control the cost of your electricity and avoid unexpected rate hikes. You can also increase the value of your home and help the environment. And remember, there are zero upfront cost or fees. This rate increase will increase your power bill. That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy today. The best time is now. Call Ask Solar Sandy at 623-850-8229. That's 623-850-8229. Visit AskSolarSandy.com. That's AskSolarSandy.com.
Hello, Bill Tatro here. In all my years in radio, I said the same thing. Whether it's politics or finance, history or economics, it's all about money. I now produce an insightful newsletter called It's All About Money, and I'm presenting an exclusive offer to Money Radio listeners. Go to BillTatro.com/moneyradio to get my newsletter for over half off the regular price and get regular content that will educate, inform, and may even be fun. Go to BillTatro.com/moneyradio for over half off. Do it today.
Don't miss the D-backs 20th anniversary season. Opening day is next Thursday, March 29th. Game time, 7 p.m. against the Colorado Rockies. Get tickets at dbacks.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we're on our second segment. If you're just tuning in, you missed the first one. I introduced my truly better half, my best friend, the woman that completes me, that makes me look so good every single day.
Pouring it on.
Susie Roth, welcome to Health Futures.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're talking about opioids. If you want to catch that first segment, go up to our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the media button up on the top. Hit the drop down. Third button down is the radio show. You can catch this one and about 200 others that we've been bringing to you for the last 5 years. So first, I want to thank James. It's a Coldplay day. Thank you for taking us out in the second segment, bring our first segment on Coldplay and bringing us into the second segment. I want to just share with our listening audience some facts about Arizona and opioids. So, real lives, real people between June 2017 and January 2018. So that's 7 months. 812 Arizonans died of suspected opioid overdose. 5,202 Arizonans suffer a suspected overdose on opioids. 455 Arizona babies were born addicted to opioids.
Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad.
A potent drug misprescribed, overprescribed, and misused. Are you ready for this statistic? 6 million plus. That's the amount of opioids that 4 doctors wrote over a 12-month period in a county with a population of 200,000 people.
How can that be?
6 million plus. 4 doctors over a 12-month period with a population of 200,000 people. 75% of heroin users in treatment that started with painkillers.
Yeah.
And, it just goes on. I mean, it is really a major problem, and our country is addressing it, but we need to go further. And I want to take this opportunity, Susie, is really try to peel back the onion and really get down to the source of this and really try to clear up a lot of the confusion. And I wanted you to come on the show because one, your experience in the pharmaceutical world, which you shared in our first segment, but 2, the research that went into putting our piece together that we write on a monthly basis for the April edition for Love and Life After 50 and the Jewish News Aging Today article.
Okay, well, it is, like you said, it needs to be peeled back, and we probably couldn't even do it in this amount of time.
Well, let's unpack as much as we can, and we have 2 more segments after this.
So, as I was saying, when we were promoting our drug for chronic pain, or it wasn't for chronic pain, it was for end-stage cancer pain, and it was something that the doctors were resisting. They were opioid phobic, which is really the opposite of what they are now. And there was this pharmaceutical company. First of all, we should talk about tolerance and addiction because these are hallmarks of opioids. And so that is really important because they're not the same thing. So tolerance is when you have the diminished effect with the same amount of drug. So as you continue to take the drug, it has less and less of a therapeutic effect, less of an analgesic effect, and you will develop a tolerance. If you stop taking the opioid, if you've taken it for longer than 3 days, but I'm not exactly sure how long it takes to develop a withdrawal symptom. And when you have a withdrawal symptom from opioids, it mimics pain that you've felt to take the opioids for. So it's all just like a vicious cycle of, I need more, I want to get off it, I'm in pain. And then when you have a long-term opioid overuse illness, it is a chronic illness, it's an addiction. I understand that the pain of getting off of the opioid is like the flu times 100.
What's interesting, during Dr. Hammerschlag and Dr. Bobro's symposium that they did, the JCC, there was a woman that got up and spoke about a fall that she had taken, and she had taken Oxycontin or oxycodone, and they're one of the same, aren't they?
Right, so that's where a lot of the confusion lies, and it's probably like an interesting thing about the Purdue Pharma. They were a company that they had MS-Contin, and that was the morphine sulfate product. It was coming off patent. So they took oxycodone, which is really another derivative of a synthetic opioid. It's a synthetic opioid. It's actually more potent than morphine, which just means that a smaller amount is needed to produce the same effect. And they wanted, now that their one product was going off patent, they took this new product and oxycodone, and it didn't have that same stigma as morphine. Morphine was for end-stage pain. But they could take this product and say, how do we expand the market? How do we get more people to use our product? And they ran a lot of focus groups to try and understand this. And I think so oxycodone is the product, but OxyContin is the sustained release form.
So oxycodone, this woman had been taking it, and she had taken a fall, and she was on it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then she just stopped.
Yeah.
And she described to our panel of these two physicians that she started going through withdrawal. She didn't know. Her doctors didn't tell her that she was going to start getting the shakes and the sweats and the feeling, the anxiety feeling that she was going to get.
Right.
And it was, if it wasn't for a friend of hers that said, "I want you to go back and take one of those pills right now,"
right.
because you're not supposed to just come off them completely. And I think
right,
that's
you have to taper down.
Right. And I think that's part of the confusion that's out there, is that that's not really well understood.
And that's not addiction, because addiction is a behavior. It's something that interferes with your life. It's seeking, how do I, an addict struggles between feeling sick and searching for drugs. That's the life of an addict.
Right.
And that's not what this person was describing. She was describing the normal, what everybody would go through. Everybody would go through if they were on opioids. And that's just a fact of life. It's not like alcohol, where there's some social drinkers and there's some alcoholics. I mean, you give somebody an opioid long enough, they are going to go through withdrawal. They are going to have recurring pain. It changes your brain chemistry. We have endogenous opioids. We have a system. It would never touch cancer pain, post-op pain, a broken bone. We couldn't expect to get through those kind of crises that an opioid is meant for. But we can recruit endogenous opioids to help us through yoga, through breathing, through behavioral therapy. Unfortunately, when you are on a synthetic opioid for a long time, that kind of shuts off your ability to produce endogenous opioids, and that's part of the disease that you can't, it changes your brain chemistry forever.
And the other thing is, we also have to look at this older adult population, and you talk about endogenous relief, if you would, and you're talking about some of the things that Dr. Hammerschlag was talking about: yoga, breathing, Tai Chi, or meditation, all those things, therapy,
gardening.
I think that this older adult population is used to taking a pill.
I think you're right.
And I think they think they'll get comfort out of this pill and they'll be done with it. As we wind down this second segment, there was, I'm a football fan, and I know a lot of people out there listening today are football fans. One of the well-known issues or opioid misuses was with Brett Favre. Brett Favre was in a lot of pain, and he got on opioids, and guess what? He became an addict. I mean, he had to actually...
Think about how strong he was to
right.
do what he did. And then, he's no different. He's mortal. That's that's the reaction people would have.
People gave him, physicians gave him opioids. His team physician or his private physician gave him opioids to get relief from the pain he was suffering from the aches and pains of the NFL.
How about the fact that this year during the Super Bowl, there was a commercial for a preparation to help you with the constipation from opioids?
I didn't even know that.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
That's how many people are taking them.
Did you tell him, Jason Mraz?
No.
It's halftime here at Health Futures. We got a little Jason Mraz taking us out. We're up at halftime. I've got Susie Roth. We're going to talk opioids when we get back. Stick around.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
President Trump is warning Congress that he will, quote, never sign another bill like this again. This after he signed a $1.3 trillion spending bill to keep the government running into fall. Trump saying he gave in because national security requires it.
While we're very disappointed in the $1.3 trillion, nobody more disappointed than me because the number is so large. It'll start coming down. We had no choice but to fund our military.
The Pentagon gets $700 billion, a $66 billion increase. Support for tougher gun control laws is soaring in the United States, according to a new Associated Press NORC poll. A majority of gun owners and half of Republicans favor new laws to address gun violence. Since the Florida school shooting left 17 dead overall, nearly 70% of adults favor stricter gun control measures. A terrorist who shot and killed 2 people and took hostages in a supermarket near Toulouse, France, was killed by police. ISIS says he was one of theirs. I'm Michael Toscano.
When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Let Farmers share with you practical knowledge gained from more than 90 years of experience. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
When you're hiring, you don't want to sort through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using our intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Let Farmers share with you practical knowledge gained from more than 90 years of experience. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
If you're still working, you're still making money. But what about retirement? Make sure you have reliable income then, too. Keep listening to your Money Radio experts to find out how.
Hi, I'm Gary Culp. I'm host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, insurance, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we will carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call, 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. 5559.
Are you tired of your power bill going up year after year? Did you know with the changes voted in by the Corporation Commission in August, your APS electric bill will increase year after year? That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy. Solar Sandy can save your hard-earned money on a bill you're already paying too much on. Just think, you can save thousands on your electric bill and control the cost of your electricity and avoid unexpected rate hikes. You can also increase the value of your home and help the environment. And remember, there are zero upfront cost or fees. This rate increase will increase your power bill. That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy today. The best time is now. Call Ask Solar Sandy at 623-850-8229. That's 623-850-8229. Visit AskSolarSandy.com. That's AskSolarSandy.com.
Don't miss the D-backs' 20th anniversary season. Opening day is next Thursday, March 29th. Game time, 7 p.m. against the Colorado Rockies. Get tickets at dbacks.com.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. The payments service Square is aggressively trying to bring millennials over to its Square Cash platform. First, by announcing the ability to buy and sell Bitcoin last fall, and now with a program that gives Square Cash Card users $1 off coffee purchases. Users must spend at least $1.50 on the coffee, and you can't get the discount more than 10 times a day. A Deutsche Bank analyst raised his price target on Square shares, citing management's plans to invest for growth on both the consumer and merchant sides of the business. However, Square shares are down 6% today. Apple shares are down 1%, even though a BTIG analyst said there are early indications of favorable iPhone product mix for the March quarter. Apple and Square are lower, as is the broader market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is now down 255 points. That's Your Money Now.
Save up to 50% off on over 200 floors at Lumber Liquidators' end-of-quarter clearance sale. Choose from the best selection of wood-look waterproof flooring like vinyl plank and wood-look tile up to 50% off. All water-resistant laminate is up to 36% off. Get pre-finished hardwood up to 33% off. More from just 39 cents while supplies last. And take an extra 15% off clearance at your local store. Plus special financing. The end-of-quarter clearance sale's going on now at Lumber Liquidators.
Your parents took care of you. Then, one day, you start caring for them. It's one of those moments when people realize that where you get your medicine matters. And they look to CVS Pharmacy for advice and ways to save money. Plus, you can earn up to $50 extra rewards each year just for filling prescriptions. So join us at CVS Pharmacy. Terms and conditions apply. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other state restrictions apply. See cvs.com/pharmacy rewards or the pharmacy for details.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you, and we're here in our second half. And if you missed our first half, I've got my beautiful bride, my best friend. How am I doing? Am I doing good?
Thick.
I know.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it's Friday. It's the weekend. But I've got Susie Roth here in the studio, and we're talking opioids. And if you missed our first two segments, you can catch them up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the media button, hit the drop down to the radio button, and you can catch this show and many others. So we were talking about opioids, and we really got into a lot of the statistics. We talked a little bit about Susie's background in pharmaceuticals, and she used to sell, drugs that did a lot of the same things that were opioids for end-stage cancer and for pain management. And now here we are, fast forward to 2018, and it is an epidemic. And I think I want our listening audience, because I love to paint this picture for you, to visualize who these people are that are addicted to opioids.
It's not what you think.
I know, and you think it's that guy on the street corner that is trying to sell you the nickel bag or whatever that thing is.
Right. And I think these are people who are, you imagine them to be the people who are seeking disability for chronic back pain. They lost their job, and so they're trying to figure out, like, how do I get disability, or how do I opt out of life? But unfortunately, people have opted out of life beyond their control because they have been treated for chronic pain with something that was dangerous.
Exactly. It was dangerous. And just a real quick background, a national study of physicians and patients. This was conducted by the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University. They found the following: 20%. That represents the percentage of primary care physicians that consider themselves very prepared to identify alcohol or drug dependence. And then this is even crazier too, 40%. That represents the number of patients who claim the diagnosis of a substance abuse disorder was not identified by their primary care physician.
And I think that could circle back to the person we were talking about, that maybe if you, I don't profess to know anything about chronic pain. I've been very lucky, and I don't want to marginalize or minimize what people who have pain, what they feel and what they go through on a daily basis. But if somebody were to put my mother on OxyContin, I would be asking some very pointed questions, like how long should they be on this for? What is a symptom that I might be developing a tolerance for this? Is there a difference between the pain I'm feeling that I'm being treated for, or maybe the withdrawal I've felt because I want to taper back a little? So there's a lot of things that we should have our older adults be advocating, asking questions. Can I start off on a smaller dose? Can I start on a non-opioid regimen to start with, so that I don't have to worry about developing a tolerance, not to mention all the other side effects of opioids, constipation and...
I still can't get over the fact that they ran a constipation ad during the Super Bowl, Susie.
I can't remember the name of the drug, but I'll get back to you on that.
Please do. And we are very fortunate, very blessed to have 3 beautiful daughters, and each one of them went through a phase where they had wisdom teeth taken out.
It was really amazing to me.
Didn't they get prescribed opioids?
Okay, they got Percocet, which is really not OxyContin, but the thing that amazed me was that their pain orders, take every 4 hours as needed, were the same pain orders that you got when you had ankle surgery.
Right, ankle surgery, and I first had my tricep tendon repaired. That was 6 months earlier, and I got prescribed them as well. I took one then, and they gave it to me as I walked out, and I just didn't like the feeling of it.
And I think it's also interesting. I remember when you had your elbow surgery, and so you had a nerve block on board, so you were pretty numb. And they told us, watch and make sure he doesn't hurt himself. And that's something to really remember, that pain is a signal that there's something wrong. And if we just blur everyone's pain, they may not know that they have some kind of systemic disease. And I remember you were leaning on your hand on the table, and I'm like, let's lift this up.
I didn't feel anything.
Because you didn't feel it. And so pain is a very helpful indicator that something may be wrong. And in our society, we want to get rid of the pain. We aren't willing, like we have an experience where we know somebody who, because of substance abuse, who overdosed, and they said they weren't willing to put the work in, and it does take a lot of work.
And you told me that it is literally the 5th vital sign, pain.
Well, that's a new thing. That is since about 2001, I believe, and there was this feeling that pain was undertreated. And so they started asking people to identify their pain. And this part of what started this, this epidemic is that doctors thought, well, I'm going to ask about their pain on a scale of 1 to 10 or happy face or frown face, which means I must treat it. Instead of treating the disease, now we're treating pain. And pain is subjective. Pain is not a sign that can be measured. It's not heart rate, blood pressure. It's body temperature. It's something that is, subjective to you and me, and it's not really a sign. It's a symptom.
It is a symptom, and when you really pull this onion back and you unpack it, you have educated me immensely on the, for lack of a better word, the root of where we're at today in 2018 as it relates to opioids. And it's a pharmaceutical company. And so, if you could walk us through a little bit here in this segment, we may need to pick it up in the 4th segment. How did we get here?
Okay, well, there's a company by the name of Purdue Pharma. Purdue Pharma was 3 brothers, and it's a privately held company. And I think to date, they have made $35 billion.
$35
billion on OxyContin. And so one of their drugs, one of their products, it was a shell of a company. One of their products was betadine, that wash that you use to prepare the skin before surgery. It cleans the site. So they have this morphine sulfate continuous relief that's going to go off patent, and then they decide they're going to launch OxyContin. And OxyContin had a sentence in the package insert that I don't know how it got in, and it was taken out. And this was the selling point that the drug reps used to sell the product. And this is the exact sentence. It said, delayed absorption as provided by OxyContin tablets is believed to reduce the abuse liability of the drug, which is so confusing. I mean, the abuse liability of the drug, what does that mean? Because that is saying for a recreational user that this because it's sustained release, why would they put something about an abuse liability for a recreational user in the package insert? Okay, yes, opioids are abused. But what really happened is they used that sentence to convince the physicians that tolerance was not going to be an issue. And that is the key right there.
That tolerance would not be an issue. And that was back when?
That was 1996 is when it was
1996.
Launched. And it's, from there, that's what happened. I mean, everybody started prescribing it, not just cancer doctors, but primary care doctors. And they didn't really know a lot about what could happen as a result. And there is a lot of abuse potential with it, which we can talk about because they did change the formulation.
Well, let's talk about the abuse potential in this fourth segment. But real quick, as we close the third segment, I want to just share some facts with our listening audience. Roughly 21 to 29% of patients prescribed opioids for chronic pain misuse them. That's 21 to 29%. Between 8 and 12% develop an opioid use disorder. An estimated 4 to 6% who misuse prescription opioids transition to heroin. About 80% of people who use heroin first misuse prescription opioids.
Well, I think opioid use disorder is something we should talk about and talk about treatment.
Right, absolutely. We can do that at the fourth segment, Susie.
Okay, let's do it.
And this sounds a little bit like Jerry Rafferty. This goes back a few years, right? James? Yeah, good. You did this just for Susie because she was on the show today. I really appreciate it.
I think he would put some Who on for me.
Well, he might just do that. We're down our third segment. It's hard to believe. We're getting ready to start our fourth. You've been listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've had the pleasure of having my bride, my partner in life, Susie Roth, here in the studio. We're talking opioids. So please stick around. We're going to get a lot more information on opioids as we close this show today. We'll be right back.
Market Wrap listeners, join host Mo Ansari for his next seminar on Wednesday, April 4th in Scottsdale, where he'll talk about ways to make money in today's markets. With the markets at all-time highs, what should you do with your excess cash positions? How will the Fed's rate decisions impact your portfolio? With international markets outperforming, how much should you have in your portfolio? How much real estate should you own? And how much risk should you be taking with your investments? You can also make an appointment to meet with him on Thursday, April 5th and get your free portfolio review. That's Wednesday, April 4th for the free seminar and Thursday, April 5th for your free appointment with Mo. Just call pound 250 on your cell phone and say talk to Mo for reservations. Again, from your cell phone, call pound 250 and say talk to Mo or register online at compact.com. That's COMPAK.com.
Compact Asset Management is a registered investment advisor. Funds custodian, Fidelity Institutional Wealth Services, member FINRA SIPC.
Are you in the market for a new home? Before you even call a realtor, the first call you should make is to the Lund Mortgage Team to get pre-approved for a loan in just minutes. This way you know exactly what to tell your realtor you are looking for and the budget you have for your new home. Hey everybody, Mark Asher to remind you about keeping it local. As many of you know, I was born and raised in Arizona, so when I see great companies who are all about the Valley, people who grew up in the same area and call the same area I live in home, it makes me proud. It makes me want to use that company. The Lund Mortgage Team is just that. They have been in the Valley for decades and have built their name on trust, honesty, and the true meaning of hard work. They are available nights, weekends, or whenever is convenient for your family to meet. They offer the lowest rates and the lowest fees as well. It's all about you when working with the Lund Mortgage Team. So call today, 623-875-9940. You can also get pre-approved online at lundmortgageteam.com. Call today, 623-875-9940.
It's all the genuineness of an In-N-Out burger times 2. The In-N-Out Double Double. Double meat, double cheese, double fresh. Come taste the difference at In-N-Out Burger.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. And James, you did this one just for Susie.
Well, it's also, people think it's called Teenage Wasteland. It's really Baba O'Reilly, but very appropriate.
Baba O'Reilly or Baba the Roth. Right? I like that. Keep it going. Keep it going. Baba O'Reilly. And it isn't Teenage Wasteland, one of the great Who songs. And no, you're not listening to a rock and roll station. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And I'm your host, Bob Roth. And I've got Susie Roth here in the studio, and we are talking opioids. And we are now on our fourth segment, and it's hard to believe that this thing is coming to a close. I know that Susie Roth, when the show started, she thought, what are we going to talk about for the next hour? And we are kind of running out of time. So I want to tee this one up and just share with our listening audience. Doug Ducey, he signed into law the Arizona Opioid Epidemic Act, and he was quoted as saying the following: "We've all heard the first-person stories of individuals who have been impacted by this crisis. Many here today have been personally impacted, but there are so many other stories we haven't heard because the individuals impacted didn't survive. More than 800 people last year. This bill is for them."
Wow. Well, one of the things that is included in this, and it's really important, is the naloxone, the reversal agent.
Interesting. I'm so glad you brought that up. Please talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I remember learning about it when I was a drug rep, because this would be for doctors in the OR who couldn't get their patients, the anesthesiologists who couldn't get their patients to wake up. And they kind of it's a finesse thing. You misdose it. And they could use Narcan as a reversal agent to make them wake up. The problem was that the Narcan would also reverse the opioid effect and the analgesia. So a lot of times they were in the
extreme pain,
in the post anesthesia recovery unit in pain. That was also how they identified the anesthesiologist, who is the number one specialty to abuse drugs, because their patients woke up with so much pain because they would give less to the patient and keep some for themselves.
Wow, did not know that.
So there's
a little black market going on with those anesthesiologists.
Well, they were the ones that probably weren't giving it to anyone, but probably just themselves, unfortunately.
Well, it's kind of like my friend, I won't mention names, that I went to high school with, that became a dentist. I always envisioned him, doing
I know exactly who you're talking about.
He would say, one for me, one for him, or her. So, nevertheless, I want to really, talk a little bit more about opioids. Susie, you were sharing with me at the break some information that I would love to share with our listening audience.
So, as far as what is available to help people with their disease. And let's remember that this is a disease. It has changed people's brain chemistry, and the disease of addiction is real. And think about addiction and think about other things that people are addicted to. Think about somebody who is morbidly obese and has a food addiction, which is really hard because you have to eat still. Right. Would you throw your family member out because they had a food addiction? Oh. Think about how people just get so fed up because they think it's a moral flaw, because they think that there's something wrong with them, that that they just want to throw them out, and they don't want to give them the love and compassion that they need. And it's not only the recreational user who got started on, something a path that they shouldn't have gone down, but they're there. And it could also be anyone that that had a chronic back pain, and the doctor did what he thought was right. He wasn't trying to mess this person's life up. He was trying to help. And we've gotten here, and we have to figure out how to get out, really, because we could point fingers, but that's not going to help. And giving drug abusers time in jail, how does that help? It doesn't help at all.
No, you're absolutely right. And we are, as much as we like to think that we're perfect, we're flawed. And, the Judeo-Christian, belief is, hey, look, we need to be forgiven for some of the mistakes we make. And we're not perfect, but we do make some of these mistakes. And we're here. We're here now, and the opioid epidemic is national. I mean, even the president has addressed it. Our governor's addressed it.
We need programs. We need more programs to get people into medically assisted treatment. Methadone is something that it's not swapping. It's a misconception that people think it's swapping out one drug for another. It's helping them integrate back into society, and it helps with the withdrawal. And it's something that it's needed. There's angel programs that we need where people can surrender their narcotics to police stations and get help so that they're not being punished for being an addict. This is a person with a disease. Would you punish somebody with diabetes and withhold education and information? I mean, you would never do that. We have to recognize this as what it is. It's a disease, and it's a chronic disease, and people need help, and they need understanding and love.
And there's many places to go here in Maricopa County, and all you have to do is let your fingers do the walking on your computer, and you can find outlets and resources so that you can get this relief. I mean, you can't do it alone. You need some help.
No, you need help, and you need to let go of your preconceived notions of what you think addiction is and what you think treatment is, and how can we as a society not be so punitive but be more helpful.
I love that. I mean, because like I said, we're human, and we do sometimes make mistakes, and you know what? We're still the same person. And I know we got a little less than a minute, but Susie, is there any final comments, anything you want to just share in terms of wrapping our show up today, talking about opioids and opioid addiction? Lasting, impression, what do you want our listening audience to take away?
Just like you would think, that's not my kid, that's not my husband, that's not my mom. Like, it could be you next, who needs someone in your family who really needs you to be supportive and to be helpful and to come up with solutions. And that's what it's all about.
I like that. Not my kid, not my dad, not my mother, not my family, not my friend, but you need to be there to help. It's kind of like, you see something, say something. If you see something about someone you love and you care about and you say, hey, there's just something not right.
Right.
I mean, you need to have that opportunity to talk about it. We're done. It's hard to believe it.
This was awesome.
Health Futures taking stock in you. Susie Roth, thank you for being on the show.
You're awesome.
We'll be back next Friday.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 105.3 FM.
Bill Gunderson's nationwide Best Stocks radio show is now on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM. Every morning from 9 to 10 a.m., professional money manager Bill Gunderson will talk about the economy, markets, and the best stocks now. Bill Gunderson is also the inventor of the Best Stocks Now app and the writer of the weekly Best Stocks Now newsletter. If you like to invest in the markets, this is the show for you. You will not want to miss one episode. Visit GundersonCapital.com for more info. That's GundersonCapital.com.
Money Radio 1510
and 105.3 FM.
KFNN Mesa, Phoenix. Taking a look at Wall Street, the Dow's down 405 points at 23,552. The S&P 500 dropped 53 at 2590. The Nasdaq's down 167 at 69.99. Gold is up $19 at $13.53 an ounce, and oil's up $1.62, trading at $65 a barrel.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin